salvation.
Break down these walls.
Break down these walls.
Divine liberation.
Divine liberation.
Available to all.
Available to all.
We will unlock salvation. Break down these walls. Divine liberation. Available to all. We won't slow to fight the good fight. We'll do everything we know to do what's right. Because he has no hope. He has no hope. He has no Keep on learning. Soldiers, keep on warring. Keep on telling. We'll not be too long. Powers keep on lying. Other people they keep on dying. This world keep on telling, but it will not be too long. Well, so don't let them try it again. That's how I never live the whole of the sin. So glad that I know that I knew then to keep on trying till I reach the higher ground. Lovers keep on loving. Believers keep on believing. Oh, you sleepers, gotta stop yours and leave it right now. It will not be too long. Oh, so don't let them try it again. Last time I never lived the whole of the sin. So glad that I know more than I knew then. Keep on trying till I reach my higher ground. Till I know what's gonna bring me down. Till I reach my higher ground.
Hey y'all, nice to see you. We've been jump-starting events like this all over the country for the last 9 months and really for the last 2.5 months, but this is the first time that Anchor Holds has ever been with us, so thank you for being with us. So you might feel like it's the first time you've ever been with us, so we're glad to have you. We do travel this country trying to get people who are already into what we're up to and those who are just learning about it to join together, and we think that we have to do some unusual things right now to be sure that we can support democracy for all. So I don't know how you're feeling, but I feel a little shaken by what's going on. I never would have imagined that as a pastor I would have to travel the country and remind people that we should stand against Christian nationalism. The idea that somehow Christians own this country. The idea that everybody's welcome here, but it really belongs to Christians. Never did I think we'd have to travel the country doing that, and never did I think we'd have to combine it with a message to remind people to resist an insurrection. To resist an insurrection. That's what's happening in this country. And I promise you, we have a bus out there. That one out there says, Faith, Hope, and Love, Supporting Democracy for All. And we have another bus that's not here tonight. It's out in Texas. And on the back it says what these say, resisting insurrections and confronting Christian nationalism. And you wouldn't believe the responses around the country when people see those buses. Some people like you all look at it, probably honk, wave, give us a little toot-toot. You can communicate a lot through a horn honk, as it turns out. And we figured out on the bus, we'll be like, I think that one was for us. I think that one was sending another message. But there's an awful lot of people who want to tell us there was no insurrection. And you're just trying to keep Christians from being Christian and all the other things going on. So we think it's super important to be out sharing his story. Now tonight's event's going to be a little different. Oftentimes we have a candidate with you. So tomorrow we're going to be in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, or Tuesday we're going to be in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. We're going to stand with somebody running for office there and introduce that person to voters that they would have never met before. But tonight you're not going to hear from a candidate. You're not going to hear from a candidate that is concerned about the common good. We're going to take this banner away and we're going to show you a film that we made about a cross-country bike ride. We rode along the U.S.-Mexico border from San Diego all the way to McAllen, Texas, and then from there over to St. Augustine, Florida. We rode all the way across the country to tell the story about what's happening at the border. Because we knew 2.5 years ago that the Republican Party was going to target immigrants as the reason why they should continue the movement of Make America Great Again by locking up our border and demonizing immigrants. But I never would have imagined that Donald Trump would stand on a stage in a presidential debate and say they're eating your dogs in Ohio. I never, even out of that man, I never thought it could go that low. Now look, we're not here to tell you how bad Donald Trump is. That man is like a self-cleaning oven. He does all the work for you. Shelley doesn't like that line. She says it's too sassy. But I adore it. But he is. He's like a self-cleaning oven. He does it. Look, if we need to convince you that Donald Trump is a problem and he's a threat to democracy, then you're probably far enough down the road. He convinces good-hearted people of that. We're here to remind you of how good you are and how much you can do and how you're not standing alone. So tonight you're going to hear from some people. We're going to sing a little more. You're going to hear from Genesis B. You're going to hear from Rob. You're going to hear from Nick. We're going to have a chance to watch this film together. All of this to embolden you to say a little more. I had a friend say to me last night, he said, what can someone like me, just an ordinary person, do? I said, well, I can think of 3 things. You can say something all the time. You can say it to your friends. You can say it on social media. You can say it to family members. You can call and leave voicemails. You can text people. You can talk. You can go. You could go places where it's going to matter, because he knows that Minnesota is probably okay when it comes to the presidential election. There are days where we wake up on that bus and I'm thinking, I'm not sure any place is safe. So we're going to travel as far and as wide as we can. But he thinks Minnesota's pretty safe. But I said, you could go to Wisconsin. You could travel there, you could hook up with a campaign, you can work with groups like ours that are doing work outside of the campaigns, helping motivate voters. There's some things you could do. You can go for a day, you can go for a week. Hey, you can go with us for the whole rest of the time. We're leaving Tuesday morning at 8 if you want to hop on the bus and come with us. We're barely kidding about that. But you're welcome to come with us. Or you could contribute. You could contribute money, you could contribute an idea, you could help somebody else, you could send some things. You can always do something. I remember sitting in this very room when a person named Tessa Wetjen was sitting right on that green couch. I used to be a pastor in the church that met in this building. And she was sitting right there on that green couch, and I remember when she said it. She's talking about something not to do with politics. But she said, my grandma used to say to us, when you live in a time of social turmoil, you don't do nothing, you do something. And I love that line. That kind of became our motto around Vote Common Good. You do something. And I want to thank all of you for doing something tonight. You didn't have to be here. You could be home. You could be watching television. We've all got shows to catch up on. You could be talking to other people. You could be working on that jigsaw. You could be doing a whole lot of things that good people want to be doing on a Sunday night. Some of you have already been in church a couple of times already today, so special thank you to any of you that work at churches that had to do double duty today by being out in the morning and out at night. But there's a lot of things you could be doing, but you're here. So you know what we like to say? You're yes people. You're people that say yes when someone says, can you do something? And we like a bunch of yes people. So thanks for being a yes person. Thanks for being here. Would you like to hear from Anchor Holds again? All right, you can hear from Anchor Holds, and you can hear from Genesis.
share an idea that was shared with me just last year that was a good shift for me. This idea of protest as spiritual practice. Has anybody ever heard that before? That idea was introduced to me by our pastor, actually. And I was like, hold up, Pastor Dan, tell me more about that. And he's like, well, you know, Jesus protested. And the more I thought about it, the more we talked about it, I realized, oh, it's because we come from a Christian tradition. And, you know, Christian people like to play nice, usually, and don't want to stir up trouble too much. And then I realized, oh man, Jesus stirred up some trouble. And so maybe it's not the worst thing to find a way to do that too. And I have engaged in protest, like literal and also just like as a part of my life, you know, speaking out against things that I find problems with, speaking for things I believe in. And of course, as a songwriter, songwriting has got to be a form of protest for me. Most of the songs we write are very hopeful and inspiring or upbeat or whatever, but this last year I finally had enough of how things have been going in this country, and I got mad. And it was the first time I wrote a song out of anger. And I still feel like apologetic about it, but I'm learning, like me and Genesis were talking about earlier, anger can be this incredible tool for, you know, it can certainly be destructive when we misuse anger, when we let it sit for too long, it can certainly cause more damage. But if we let anger be a stepping stone to fueling us into action and inspiring us to do something good with that anger, then it can be really, really powerful.
Yes.
So this is our song, our brand new song. It actually comes out this Friday, so I'm really excited. You're the second audience we've ever shared it with, but thanks. It's called Burn, and I do want a disclaimer. When I talk about burning it all down, I don't mean like destroying property, so don't get me wrong, but I do mean burning as a way of reform, like a wildfire that goes through and clears out the old and makes way for new growth and new good things. So this is Burn. Protest is my spiritual practice, shouting in the streets, yeah, that's my church. We the people have had enough of this, hit 'em in the pockets right where it hurts, eh? Rich people don't have to pay enough taxes, government's buying all the guns and bombs. Meanwhile, poor people only getting poorer, still tax man's gonna get him some, burn it down. Making profit off the war, gaining power from the poor. Billionaires getting off scot-free in a twisted game of monopoly. So burn it down. Burn it all down, burn it all down, burn it all down. Senators sell out, can't be trusted. Two-party system, democracy's busted. Well, they might get the vote, but no one really wins. Take a bribe, make a law, protect their friends. Politicians in our pants trying to tell us who to love, claiming their authority comes from above. But that ain't God, that's American Jesus. It's not law, but love that frees us. You got trans people fighting for the right to exist. Guns are more protected than kids. Black folks can't breathe. Asian hate runs deep. Native people segregated in the land of the free. There's poison in our food, but a dozen drugs will boost your mood. They say this country's built on freedom, but I say freedom for who? Burn it all down, burn it all down, burn it all down. You wanna sing that? Burn it all down, burn it all down, burn it all down. Burn it all down, our collective sins and light a fire that'll make things whole again, like a wildfire making things grow again.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. I feel so honored that we get to hear it before it releases to the public. Wow, that's special. All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Genesis B. I am Poet Laureate of Vote Common Good. It's good to be back with y'all. I am a poet and a truth sayer, sometimes even to my own detriment, but I am my father's child, and it's good to meet your acquaintance. Before I begin this poem, I want to ask a question of you all. And it's not rhetorical. I love hearing the responses from my audience when I ask this question. You ready for the question? Yeah. If Trump disappeared today, poof, he's gone. What would America do? What do you think, sir? What would America do if Trump just disappeared? You don't want to say, that's fine. Who wants to say?
People a lot better. Blame somebody else.
Blame somebody
Keep on
else.
blaming.
Keep on blaming. What else?
Half the people would just
Half the people would
party.
breathe and exhale.
And
Some people would party. Good. These
people
are all
would start a
these are
civil
good
war.
responses. Say again?
Some people would start a civil war.
Some would start a civil war. Thank you for your responses. If Trump disappeared today, what would America do? Would there still be all this commotion? Would America still worship money? Would we still pollute the oceans? Would we still bomb Palestinians and shoot them down with no emotion? Would women still be the smartest in the room and still get passed up for promotions? What would America do if Trump no longer exists? Would we still destroy the planet for profit? Would we still have private prisons, the new slave trade in auction? Would men still write laws dictating what women do with our bodies, stripping away anatomical autonomy? Would we still shame women who use sex as commodity, but not shame men who buy sex and pornography? Would we turn a blind eye to all this hypocrisy? What would America do if it was up to you? Would you finally purge law enforcement of white supremacist bigots? Would we still not have equal rights for poor whites and immigrants? Would preachers still use their pulpits to pimp our communities? Will boys still be boys, raping and assaulting with impunity? Would we still ignore the killing of trans folks? Because this is where America stands, folks. To know what would America do, we ask, what has America done? Well, for one, we massacred a native population. From the blood of black slaves, we built the richest of nations. And we waged war before. We cried wolf with terrorist threats. Remember weapons of mass destruction? Y'all remember that? It's crazy how quickly we forget. I've seen America burn crosses on the lawns of my fathers. I've seen America send bombs to kill mothers and toddlers. I've seen America vote for men whose only moral is money. Men who appeal to the racism and sexism of my beautiful Christian country. So we search for a savior to save us from the big orange goblin. Some magical Democrat that can solve all our nation's problems. But Trump is just a symptom of a money-hungry system that never had regards for our troops, no regard for the truth, no regard for the planet, and no regard for the youth. Trump was born into this just like you and I. Trump is as American as apple pie. So I won't ask, what would America do? We know what America has done. Instead, I ask, what can America be if we step up in the days to come? Can America be one nation under God, indivisible? Can true freedom and compassion be our core principles? These words I write are not out of spite. I once dreamt of the day that you and I could unite and fight the plights affecting all our lives, like healing our children, fighting addiction to alcohol and prescription, resisting government monopolies and wicked foreign policies made to benefit the rich while killing us with poverty. No matter your religion or your sexual preference, we can build a better tomorrow for all our descendants, where we use the common good for the good of the collective. A place where pharmaceutical riches do not result in more sickness, where corporations have constraint and cannot buy our politicians, where the money we use to wage war goes to healing Mother Earth or building houses for the poor. It's just a thought. A place where all synagogues are safe, a place where our Muslim siblings are looked upon with grace, where young girls can walk the streets without being harassed because young boys are taught to understand the traumatizing effect that has. So what can America be? A place where someone who looks like me and loves like me can actually feel safe and free? Where black and brown women are not minimized and the image of us outside reflects the power of our insides, our potential, our resilience, our imagination, and our brilliance. You see, my ancestors fought for me to have a voice. They fought for me to have a vote. So I talk my shit and I cast my ballot. I honor them by doing both. Because they knew what America could be. But it starts with you and it starts with me. Because although he spews lies and his actions show cowardice, assigning that much power to any man will eventually render you, that's right, powerless. So don't ask, what would America do? Ask, what can America be? And the answer to that question, my friends, is solely up to you and me. I'm Genesis B, thank you.
Genesis B, everybody. My name's Rob Ryerson. I'm a pastor from Fayetteville, Arkansas, and it's a real pleasure to be with you this evening. I thought I'd maybe tell you a couple of stories, give you a sense of some of the things that we're seeing as we are out on the road, traveling across the country, talking with groups of people just like you in cities and towns across our nation. The first story, maybe I just kind of remind you of it. It's the story that's told in the movie Monsters, Inc. Do you remember that one? Monsters, Inc. There's a factory that is Monsters Incorporated, that is powered by the screams of children. And so the factory employs all of these monsters that sneak into kids' rooms and scare them in the night, and their screams are harnessed and turned into power. There's one monster who decides that he's tired of making the kids scream. What he really wants to do is make the kids laugh. Sully is his name. And so the movie tells the story of how Sully ends up making a little girl named Boo laugh a lot. And what they find out in the end is that the laughter of the kids turns out to be more powerful than their screams ever were. I think America is having a little bit of a Monsters, Inc. moment right now. We're realizing that laughter and joy is more powerful than fear. Our politics has been dominated by fear for a long time. And I'm not just talking about Republicans. It is fear-based politics all across the board. We've all seen all of the commercials with the deep-voiced guy with the black and white images. That, you know, it is all about fear and scaring us because they think that that's what will motivate us, that that's the thing that's powerful. But joy and hope and optimism is far more powerful than the fear ever could be. And when we laugh a little bit, when we have a presidential candidate who inspires what's best in us and makes us dream of the America that can be, well, there's something really, really powerful in that. Now, maybe you're sitting here thinking, yeah, that sounds great. I really want that, but I'm just not so sure. I'm not so sure we can break through the fear and the hatred. I'm not so sure that change is possible. I've got these people in my life that I just don't have any sense of, like, yeah, they're actually going to change. They've disappointed me over and over and over again, and I just don't know if change is possible. Well, I want to tell you tonight that change is possible.
Yeah.
And I know this because of how I grew up. I grew up, you know, the Apostle Paul referred to himself, this is like kind of like church, right? The Apostle Paul referred to himself as a Pharisee of the Pharisees. Remember that in the Bible? I grew up a Republican of the Republicans. Had pictures on my wall when I was a teenager, like Bob Dole and this unknown freshman congressman from Georgia that nobody ever heard of. His name was Newt Gingrich. I used to get magazine subscriptions. I would get Sports Illustrated, and then I would get National Review, William F. Buckley's magazine, if you remember that. I didn't just listen to Rush Limbaugh. I was a caller to the Rush Limbaugh show. Got on the air 5 times. Yeah. I mean,
Ditto head?
yeah, absolutely. Mega dittos. I like summer camp one year, I went to teenage Republican school. Basically what I'm telling you is I was the coolest kid in my school. That's pretty much what I'm telling you right now. But I grew up in all of that. And then over a period of time, things began to change pretty significantly. I joke often that the 2 people who've changed my life more than any others are Jesus and Donald Trump, for 2 very different reasons.
Yeah.
You have people in your life that you worry about, that you wonder, all right, can they ever change? Can anything ever break free? They can. And I just want to remind you tonight that change is possible. But it happens best. It happens most frequently through grace, love, relationship. The Apostle Paul also said once that it is God's kindness that leads us to repentance. It's not guilt, it's not shame, it's not arguing, it's not a different kind of hatred that brings about change. It's love. One of the things that we've realized as we work with candidates across the country is that as candidates are talking to voters, it's really hard sometimes to get voters to imagine doing something different because of their identity. And one of the things we've realized is that behavioral change happens before identity change happens. So as you're thinking about that person in your life, maybe Don't think about, okay, how do I turn this person from a conservative Republican to a progressive Democrat or whatever it might be. Those are identity changes. And those happen really slowly and are really difficult. But behavioral change is a lot easier to make happen. And so one of the things we've been encouraging folks to do in the next 20-some days before the election is as you're having conversations with people, here's the little phrase you can use. Here's the permission structure you can give them to begin a little bit of a change. Here's what you can say. Listen, I'm not asking you to become a Democrat. I'm asking you to vote for Kamala Harris, for instance, in this election. I'm not asking you to become a Democrat. I'm asking you to vote for this person in this election. If you make that kind of statement, you give someone the permission to change their behavior without having to change their identity. And in the process, you begin, it's like you hit the windshield with a little stone. And that little ding there that is going to begin to spread and crack. The crack is going to grow, and eventually you'll have, Alex P. Keaton standing up in front of a group talking about how important it is to vote for Democrats. These changes take time, but they happen, and some of you don't know who Alex P. Keaton is, and that makes me feel old. So that's great. One final story. My best friend in the world is a conservative Republican, evangelical Christian, never voted for a Democrat in his life. In 2016, he was horrified, as many of us were, by Donald Trump and just could not cast his ballot for Donald Trump in the presidential election. So he ended up voting for Evan McMullin, who was running as an independent for president. In 2020, my friend left the presidential line on his ballot blank. Didn't vote for president. In 2022, in the state of Arkansas, Sarah Huckabee Sanders was running to be the governor of Arkansas. And she was running against a guy named Dr. Chris Jones. And on election day, my friend sent me a picture of his ballot. He had voted for a whole host of people that just kind of turned my stomach, and I was like, oh, this is bad. But at the top of his ballot, he voted for Dr. Chris Jones rather than Sarah Huckabee Sanders. His ballot turned ever so purple. And what he doesn't realize is that 2 years later, he's talking now about voting for Kamala Harris, Democrat who's running for Congress in our district, and that behavioral change has begun to spread. That crack is growing, the dominoes are falling. So, keep after it, keep doing it, do it with joy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's a local pastor named Jay Bates who came to visit our church earlier this year. He's an incredible guy, and he talked about this idea of imagining. And he is a gay man and also Korean, and he was like, there was a day when my family members imagined this reality for me that I could be a pastor of a church, and now that's real because they imagined it and they took the steps to make it happen. And that is what we can do too. Just pause for a moment. Imagine how good things could be for people in this country. And know that you could be a part of making those freedoms a reality. With the little steps you take now. This song is called Free by William Matthews. grant us peace. In these sleepless nights, I can hardly breathe. Despite brutality, I know that we'll be free. I know that we'll be free. So let the light in, keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All the love dares us to see. We'll all be free. In these desperate times, love will hold us near. Love will join our hands, teach us to have no fear. So we lay our head down to wash their feet. When we see our brother, oh, we'll all be free. Yes, we'll all be free. Let the light keep shining. Let it break into the darkness. All the love dares us to see. We'll all be free. Let the light keep shining. Let it break into the darkness. All the love dares us to see. We'll all be free. We'll all be free. We'll be free. Free. We'll all be free. And we'll be free. Free. We'll all be free. We are free. Free. We'll all be free. We'll be free. Free. We'll all be free. Yeah. Let the light keep shining. Let it break into the darkness. All the love dares us to see. We'll all be free. Let the light keep shining. Let it break into the darkness. All the love dares us to see. We'll all be free. We'll all be free. We'll all be
Thank you. Thank you so much. We hear and play that song at all of our events around the country, and it's really great to hear that rendition of the song, so thank you for that. I'd like to share with you a piece called "To Support and Defend the Constitution, So Help Me God." On 9/11, Al-Qaeda hijacked 4 commercial airplanes and deliberately crashed 2 of the planes into the north and south towers of the World Trade Center. The crashes created a massive fireball, leaving a massive, thick plume of gray smoke over New York City. The towers collapsed, and people outside ran in fear for their lives. The third hijacked plane crashed into the side of the Pentagon and left a wide and burning gash. And after hearing about the other attacks, passengers on the 4th hijacked plane, Flight 93, bravely fought back and crashed the plane into an open field in western Pennsylvania, about 20 minutes by air from Washington, D.C. The 9/11 attacks killed 2,977 people and would become the deadliest terrorist attack from a foreign adversary on U.S. soil. I remember hearing the news that morning, and after arriving at home after work that evening, watching the news unfold on the television. The scenes of mass devastation, confusion, and fear overwhelmed me with such emotion, such grief and anger, that I wept uncontrollably, and I beat the air with my fists. The day would be a day to never forget, not only because of these overwhelming emotions, but also because of a growing obligation towards service to country and a widening sense of love for country. Because of 9/11, I would enlist in the military. So standing in a room full of young men and women, I prepared to take the military's oath of enlistment. A sergeant called us to attention, directed us to raise our right hand and to repeat after him. I, Nick Brock, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me according to regulations and the Uniform Code of Justice. So help me God. It was at that moment that I had committed my whole self to protect and defend not just a particular branch of service, not the flag, not the country, and not even the President of the United States, but rather to the Constitution, which symbolized all of these things. You see, I was now a part of something much larger than myself. I would serve under that oath for 10 years in the United States Air Force and afterward be honorably discharged. 6 years after that, however, I would be reminded of the solemnity for my oath on January 6, 2021. On January 6, former President Trump summoned a violent mob to march on the U.S. Capitol in support of his wholly fabricated charge that the presidential election had been stolen from him. 2,500 people overran police barricades, beat, bloodied, and tased police officers. They smashed windows, they smashed doors, and they ran through the halls of Congress, threatening to hang Mike Pence, execute the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, and do God knows what to other office holders. 114 law enforcement officers were injured, and 7 people died as a result of the violent attack. The insurrection of January 6th was an unprecedented domestic terrorist attack on U.S. soil. I remember hearing the news at my dining room table and watching the scene unfold on my laptop. I abruptly stood up to pace my living room with tears of anger and grief streaming down my cheeks. My visceral reaction was reminiscent of 9/11 as I recalled my oath. I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. January 6th would be another day to never forget. Not only because the seat of our democracy was desecrated, but because of this simple yet breathtaking fact. Former President Trump and I, both worlds apart from each other in every sense of the word, had one thing in common. One. We both swore to defend the Constitution to our best abilities. Yet I was the one who bore true faith and allegiance to the same and left my post honorably. You see, January 6th was more than just quote-unquote a problem, or just simply that President Trump had left the White House as vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance and military veteran would have us all believe. No. To the contrary, President Trump attempted to overturn the election results in order to seize power illegally and remain in office. The violent mob he had summoned laid siege to the Capitol, and he refused for more than 3 hours to tell the insurrectionists to go home. And nearly $3 million in damages to the Capitol had been accomplished. And when he finally chose to address the insurrections, he said with a wink and nod of approval, "We love you. You're very special." Trump violated the oath of the Constitution and moreover brought dishonor to thousands of military members around the globe who remained steadfast to their oath of enlistment, and unequivocally to the countless men and women who gave their lives in service of that cause. My fellow Americans, we must choose in this election to honor those who give everything and gave everything in support of American freedom and democracy. This is our obligation and the cause of our time. We know full well that the first 3 words of the original handwritten and signed Constitution makes this obligation clear, declaring from the outset, "We the people," with oversized black lettering that looms large over all the rest. In the same way, we must continue to place an oversized and emboldened obligation to vote for political leaders that will do the same. In order to form a more perfect union, we the people must support leaders who put together goodwill and their dedication to duty. My fellow Americans, is this not our obligation? Yes. Is this not the cause of our time? Yes. If your answer is an overwhelming yes, and a heart-filled yes, will you stand with me right here and now in support of that cause?
Yes.
Yes, you will. Thank you. Will you stand to support and defend the Constitution of the United States with your vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Will you stand with me to support and ensure the survival of our republic?
Yes.
And will you stand with me to support democracy for all, with all of your faith, with all of your hope, and with all of your love, not only through Election Day, but on each and every day?
Yes.
Yes. My name is Nick Brock. I'm a United States Air Force veteran. And I do solemnly swear that I will continue to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, so help me God.
Thank you, Nick. Nick has been writing that over the last number of weeks as we've been driving early in the morning and late nights on the bus at the Hampton Inn breakfast, typing that out. And this is the first time he's done it from memory. Thank you, Nick. It's also the first time he's gotten to the point where he said, "Would you stand up?" The first time he did it about 3 days ago, he's like, "I don't know if I should get people to stand up." So thank you for standing. I tell you that because we're making this as we go. We know that there's, just a few weeks until Election Day, but we keep making and recreating what we do at Vote Common Good. Because we know that there's a need to bring together a different coalition. Former Republicans, Marine or Air Force members, activists who don't even want to be in the political system but will speak their voice no matter what. Pastors and people of good faith and goodwill that will travel around saying faith, hope, and love, supporting democracy for all. We're trying to put together all these coalitions because whatever we've been doing got us to where we are now. So we need to do the new thing so that we can live in a new way, in a new future. And that's what we're up to. You'd be surprised how many people, when they see faith, hope, and love, then don't know why there would be a Kamala Harris sign. They literally get confused and stop us all the time. Because they believe that those words, faith, hope, and love, are owned by the Republicans. And it's not just Republicans who think that. We've pulled this bus up to all kinds of places. We pulled it up to when Mayor Pete was running for president back in 2020. The first time Genesis said that she was the poet laureate of Vote Common Good. She was at a thing and Pete called her out. She stood up and said, I'm the poet laureate for Vote Common Good. We drive in that big bus out there that says faith, hope, and love. He said, oh yeah, we saw that bus come in. We all freaked out. We were doing some work with Josh Shapiro over in Pennsylvania. He was running for governor in 2022. We pulled the bus up with his bus to set up a stage because we were running all the audio and video for this campaign event that he did. And they were freaked out because they saw faith, hope, and love. And they would say, oh, I thought you were with the other side. Now that breaks my heart. No political party or politician owns faith.
No.
Nobody owns hope. Nobody owns love.
No. Jesus.
Nobody owns this democracy. This is all of us. It's not a Republican thing or a Democrat thing. We're not out just trying to get Republicans to own these words. We want everyone of good conscience who cares about this to join in to support democracy for all. We like to say we're bipartisan when it comes to this. We think everybody should vote against Donald Trump. We don't care your political party. But if you feel like you're committed to voting for Donald Trump, we get it. We're not here to change your mind. What we do is we work with people whose minds have already started changing, and they feel alone.
Thank you.
They feel alone to so many people because they can't talk to their friends, because they can't talk to their family. Just tell you one story about a person we met. I think she was probably in her mid-60s. She'd come to a late night event like this that we did in Michigan. And I said, where are you from? She said, oh, I live an hour and a half from here. And I said, well, that's a long way to come on a night like this. You have to drive all the way home. She said, yeah, but it means so much to me to be encouraged at this kind of work because I can't tell anyone in my town that I'm not going to vote for Donald Trump. I said, well, why is that? She said, because we own the hardware store. They'll go to Lowe's. Over and over, we hear people saying they're going to lose friends, they're going to lose their church, they're going to lose their community if they just speak up. So we want to encourage you to speak up. And we want to take you with us. There's a couple ways we take people with us. One, we'd love you to sign the bus before you leave if you're going to stay for the documentary. And I've seen it 3 or 4 times, and it's worth watching, so please stay, you'll love it. But when you leave, sign that bus because we want your name on it. It reminds us. Then take a picture and send it to a friend or sign a friend's name if they would want to sign the bus. We want to take you with us. We'd actually love to take you with us on some of our events. I'm not joking about that. We're going to be going to La Crosse on Tuesday night. We're going to be doing an event with the documentary, something very similar to this. If you want to come to La Crosse on Tuesday night at 6:30, or Stevens Point, we're going to be on the college campus on Tuesday midday at noon, 1:45 rather. We're going to be in Grand Rapids, Michigan on Thursday, running 3 different events. So we're going to be going from Grand Rapids over to Philadelphia, and then from Philadelphia into New Jersey, and then from New Jersey down to Charlotte, North Carolina, and then we're going to go to Atlanta, Georgia, and then we're coming back up to Michigan. We're going to be all around the Midwest, so we'd love for you to come. A day or 2 or 3 or 4, you can drive your own car, stay in a hotel, do that kind of stuff. We'd love to take you with us, or tell people that we're coming. Well, as we like to say, we're not here to faith, hope, and love you and leave you. We want to bring you with us, and we'd love to take you along with us if you want to go. You also could be in the tank with us. This is one of my favorite parts, because there's 4 things that get us around this country: faith, hope, love, and diesel. So you make any donation out there, you take a hat or a button or a shirt or something with you, and all that goes right into diesel. And if you feel really, really bad about paying for polluting the air, you also could pay for meals for the team. So if you don't want to put the money into the tank, you can put the money into our bellies, because we still have to eat when we're out there. So we'd love to take you with us that way. But we'd also like to leave some things with you. We have these signs here that say, faith not fear, hope not hate, love for all. We'd like you to take one of those signs and put it in your yard. If you're somebody that puts in campaign signs, put it there next to a campaign sign. Now, sometimes people steal these, Or sometimes they come knocking at your door and ask where you got them and want one themselves. So we suggest you take 2 of them. Happens all the time. Does it happen to anybody in this room? Somebody saw your sign already that said they want to take it? Yes, it happens all the time. They can go on our website and order them, and Mary Beth packages them up herself. That all comes right out of little Minneapolis here. Mary Beth packages them up and sends them all over the country. They're sitting all over the country. And we'd love for you to take some of these signs with us and put them out there in your yard and just make a little statement. Or maybe you want to say something to people in Pennsylvania or Michigan or Wisconsin. We have postcards out here that say, as a person of faith, I invite you to join me. Now that can either mean you're a person of faith or the person that's going to receive the card. But it says, well, I invite you to join me in supporting love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, self-control, and Harris Walls on election day. Then on the back, you could write your own little note. And then we give you 15 names and addresses of registered Republicans in those states, in the districts that we know the most likely have faith voters and we know are swingable. So you can put a message from you to one of them. And I promise you, some of these folks have never seen this before. We know it works because they get the postcard, they look at Vote Common Good, and sometimes they call us and say, how did you know? Why are you sending this to me? Sometimes they're freaked out, but we just say, we buy mailing lists of people that do this. This is how the world works. So we'd like to send you with those cards and you write a card. Or maybe you want to fund one of the billboards. We have billboards up in all those same places, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. They're called His Words Matter. You can go to hiswordsmatter.com, and on one side, it has a quote from Jesus with a silhouette. When I was a stranger, you welcomed me. Then on the other side is a picture of the former president and one of his quotes. Get them the hell out. Or they're polluting the bloodstream of America. Or Jesus saying, turn the other cheek. And the man saying, I want to punch him in the face. I know those work because a guy called yesterday, chatted with us on the bus. If you want to hear that recording sometime, we can play it for you. But these things work, and it really does prompt and motivate people to do something about it. So if you're interested in any of that, if you want a yard sign, if you want some postcards, if you want to sign the bus, if you want to make a contribution to the billboards, any of that, you can do that out there at the table. If you stay for the documentary, which will start here in just a minute, you're welcome to do that. And we'd love for you to come along with us and keep sharing this story. We're going to let you out here with, we're going to finish this portion with My Anchor Holds, a little refrain of what we just did. Then we'll take a 5-minute break. We're going to move this banner. We're going to let you go to the bathroom if you want. We're going to darken this room. And then we're going to share with you this documentary about this ride along the U.S.-Mexico border and let you meet the people who are impacted by U.S. policy and by our immigration policy. And it runs for 61 minutes. So if you can stay around for that, I think you'll really love it. So thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Katie, for being here tonight. We really appreciate you.
It's been so fun. Thank you for having us and letting us be a part of it. Thank you. Thank you.